Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, here's the scenario. I'm going to take a look at every Premier League team and try and find the worst possible former player in the club's recent history that would still make their current starting 11. Obviously, I'm not picking the 2020 version of that player, of course. I'd be putting them in this team as the same age they were during their spell at the club. That would make the most sense. Anyway, let's take a look. For a lot of the promoted clubs flying high in the top flight with big money squads, this is going to be a damn challenge. Arsenal, adieu. Okay, well obviously I'm going to have to rummage around for bench warmers in the great Arsenal teams. Step forward, adieu. That forgotten Brazilian international midfielder stapled to the bench for the invincible season. This man was unlucky. At his peak, he was vying with Patrick Vieira and Gilberto Silva for minutes at club level. And with Kaká and Ronaldinho on the international stage, Christ, he was so suffocated for minutes on the pitch, he tried to switch international allegiances from Brazil to England. Christ above, that would have been weird. But with this Arsenal team, good God, he walked straight in. Who's going to stop him? Granit Xhaka? Adu was a midfield architect coated in Brazilian skill, quite underrated. In this current Arsenal team languishing halfway down the league, he'd be their best midfielder. This fellow would wipe the floor with the career of Dani Ceballos. Aston Villa, Milan, BAROS. Yeah, step forward, the bang average Aston Villa strikers of the past. Listen, Milan BAROS was an Aston Villa flop. For a Euro 2004 Golden Boot winner, Villa fans would have expected a lot more than 14 goals in 51 bastard games. But lads, take the 2006 version of BAROS and chuck him in this Aston Villa squad, he'd play every game up front. His debut season saw him bang home 12 goals. Not great, but I'm pretty sure neither Wesley or Mohamed Samatta are capable of that in the Premier League. Factor in the fact he was lethal on the international stage and was a Champions League winner, you're damn right Dean Smith would love him in his team. Bournemouth, TYRONE, MINGS. Okay, for Bournemouth this was nigh on impossible. This is supposed to be a list of their worst former player that would somehow make their team. Lads, Bournemouth's worst players were part-time plumbers in League 2. This is literally the strongest starting 11 they've ever boasted in their history. So, I guess TYRONE MINGS? Underappreciated by Eddie Howe, mostly stuffed on the bench. He's a current England international, so I'm pretty sure he'd probably walk back into their team. Brighton, Bobby ZAMORA. Again, similar story. This is Brighton's strongest team in decades, so finding a crap former player to make their current team, it's about as challenging as finding condoms in a convent. Instead, I'm just gonna have to go for one of their best former players, Bobby ZAMORA. For most of his career, he was probably championship standard, but ZAMORA from his Brighton years, he'd probably still start ahead of Neil Maupay. Burnley, Danny Fox. Christ, this is hard for the clubs currently punching above their weight, isn't it? With Burnley, the only chink in their armour is possibly a right back. Phil Barsley is a 34-year-old journeyman fullback whose finest achievement was knocking out Wayne Rooney in the Bastard Kitchen. I would imagine a 23-year-old Danny Fox would have been an upgrade. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't great, spat out of Everton like a piss-soaked sock, and carved out a career consisting of spells at Walsall, Coventry, Celtic and Wigan. Hardly a scrapbook to show the grandkids. He's only lasted one season at Burnley back in 2010 and has just 4 Scotland caps, but even still, I'd pick a youthful Fox over Barsley any day of the week. Chelsea, LASSANA, DIARRA. The current Chelsea squad is the product of transfer bans. As such, Frank Lampard is having to pick unproven youth players mixed with a blend of stale old-timers. How Pedro is still getting picked for Premier League games is beyond me. So let's find a bench warmer during their glory years. I considered Sean Wright Phillips, who was wildly out of his depth fighting with Arjen Robben and Damien Duff for minutes, and a 2005 version of this man, he'd probably be an upgrade on Pedro, but you also have to factor in the fact that Christian Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi also exist, so yeah, he probably wouldn't start. Instead, I'm going to have to go for LASSANA DIARRA. Stuffed to the bench under Jose Mourinho until he impatiently quit for Arsenal. This guy went on to win the FA Cup and play for Real Madrid, so give me a 21-year-old LASSANA DIARRA, he'd walk head first into this Chelsea midfield. Crystal Palace, MAROUANE, CHAMAKH. Yeah, pretty simple here. Christian Benteke is currently a 20-stone lump of disappointment stuffed in an ill-fitted Crystal Palace shirt. You could stick my mother up front and she'd be a better attacking threat than him, but instead I'm just going to go for 2013 MAROUANE CHAMAKH. Not a great player for Palace, but did chip in with important match-winning goals during the Great Escape. That version of CHAMAKH, the one in 2014, just 4 years after lifting the French title, yeah, I'd probably still pick him over Benteke. Everton, Diniar Bilyadlatinov. Okay, this is tough because Everton have literally coated their team in big money stars. In the last 5 years, that club have undergone a mini financial makeover. But as for this club's history of former crap players, I'm pretty sure the likes of Andy van der Meyde and Victor Anichebe will be laughed out of the club by Carlo Ancelotti. So I'm gonna have to pick Diniar Bilyadlatinov. He only lasted 2.5 seasons at Goodison Park under David Moyes and flatter to deceive, but I would be picking a 25-year-old Russian international over an aging Theo Walcott any day of the week. He smashed home 7 from the wing in his debut season, including a belter in a 3-1 win against Man United. Walcott has 1 goal in 25 games this season. Yikes. Leicester, Emil Heskey. Again, you're not digging out many crap Leicester players off the past and chucking them in a team 3rd in the Premier League. Emil Heskey was not a bad player for Leicester. It was there he arguably played the best stuff of his career, smashing home 46 goals in 197 games. But still, half the world assumes he wouldn't control a bag of sand, largely thanks to the likes of KSI, with Heskey being his very own Paul McShane meme. I think a youthful, powerful Heskey would prove the perfect foil for Jamie Vardy up front. in Brendan Rodgers' team. Not Clichy Iheanacho. Liverpool's Stefan Henschels. Okay, this is borderline impossible. How do you possibly improve upon a team with 82 points after 29 games? And especially with so-called bad players, this is almost impossible. Maybe the underappreciated Stefan Henschels, a steady if unfashionable centre half who quietly helped form a backline that won 6 pieces of silverware at Anfield. Back in the early 2000s, he was the calm and composed partner for Jamie Carragher, scooping a treble in his second season. It would be harsh to dump Joe Gomez to the bench, but lads, this is literally the closest I could find. Liverpool fans, let me know, are there any bad or average players from your history that would start for you now? Probably not. Man City GAEL Clichy. Okay, let's be honest, there's not one single player in Man City's history which would improve their starting 11, and certainly not a bad player. I mean, when you're talking terrible footballers who've come through this club, you're talking about Danny Mills, Ben Thatcher, Dries Vassell. Pep Guardiola would probably use them to wax his car and nothing else. We all know Man City's glaring Achilles heel is a left back, with Benjamin Mendy unable to separate his brain from his feet. He plays as if he's controlled by a drunken toddler on FIFA. Let's all just pretend that a 2012 league-winning GAEL Clichy wasn't also a bird-brain left back capable of calamities, and yeah, just put him in this team because I can't think of anyone else. Man United Memphis DEPAY. Now I was tempted to pick former top players squeezed to the bench under Sir Alex Ferguson's title-winning teams, the likes of Owen Hargreaves, Louis Saha and Nicky Butt, but I think I'm going to go for Memphis DEPAY. I know most Man United fans have a craving for all things Daniel James right now, but DEPAY of 2016 would be a more dangerous outlet. Sure, he flopped under Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, but under the slightly more expansive Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he'd succeed. We can see from his football with Lyon and the Dutch national team, he thrives under attack-minded managers. Chuck a young DEPAY in this team, he'd be a damn good player. Newcastle SHOLA AMEOBI. Christ, when Joe Linton is up front, open up the heavens to all the substandard Newcastle centre forwards. Where do you want to start? Half the time I'm convinced the damn tea lady would do a better job up front than him. A bumbling sack of butter with no league goals since August. I'm half tempted to pick Marlon Harewood ahead of him, but instead shot AMEOBI. An often maligned bench warmer throughout his Tyneside career, 79 goals in 397 games is a pretty laughable return for a centre forward. But don't get it wrong, a prime AMEOBI would still be a bigger threat than Joe Linton. Norwich said Bassong. Okay, don't get it wrong, Sebastian Bassong was a god-awful defender. Relegated 4 times in his life, he was a damn curse. But he did have his moments during his debut season at Norwich back in 2012, and considering the state of the leaky backline right now, yeah, he'd probably improve it. But not by much. Sheffield United John Stead. You know what, this is tough. How do you possibly improve on Sheffield United's current team with former rejects? Most Blades fans will probably laugh in my face for even daring to choose John Stead, but I'm going to go with him anyway. Chris Wilder clearly isn't picky with a panel of current centre forwards comprised of aging journeymen. So a 25-year-old John Stead, relegated to Bramall Lane in 2007, but who also bagged 5 goals in 14 Premier League games? Let's just say I'd rather him up front than Ollie McBurney. Southampton HENRI CAMARA. Yeah, I know that Danny Ings is absolutely on fire this season. Don't worry, I'm not talking about replacing him. It's more his strike partner, Mr. Shane Long. Look, Ralph Hasenhüttl wants to get speed in and around his centre forward, fair enough. But Shane Long is nearly 34 years of age. HENRI CAMARA, relegated during his 6 months on loan back in 2005, he would fit the bill. Don't forget, the following year he smashed home 12 goals for Wigan in the top flight, so he clearly wasn't finished. During the mid-2000s, he was a sharp little player. A prime CAMARA would be a definite upgrade on a pass that Long. Tottenham Stephen Carr. Okay, listen, Stephen Carr wasn't a bad footballer for Spurs. He was somewhat of a White Hart Lane cult hero after 272 games. But let's be honest, he was a bang average mid-table fullback. A steady, unfashionable 7 out of 10 player. Still though, I would imagine he's one of the few mediocre players Spurs would rather bring back to put in their team. Serge Aurier is too erratic. One week he's brilliant, the next he's a bumbling buffoon of a fullback. Carr wasn't great, but he'd be more reliable at least. It's like a bowl of potatoes versus a plate of gone-off chicken. At least with the spuds you know what you're gonna get. If you pick the chicken, i.e. Serge Aurier, you're just gonna end up spending the afternoon puking into the toilet. Watford Jay Demerit. Okay, again this is tough to find. Let's say Jay Demerit, relegated twice during his 6 years at Watford in the mid-2000s. He was a USA international centre half, strong in the air, comfortable on the ball. I would imagine the option of a prime Demerit might cause Nigel Pearson a selection headache at the very least. West Ham Frederick Canute. Freddie Canute was undervalued in England. I'm sorry, but he was. Barely given a sniff at Spurs, on his way to relegation at West Ham in 2003, most assumed he wasn't much good. Yeah, this is a guy who won 2 UEFA Cups, was voted African Footballer of the Year in an era where Drogba and Eto'o exist. He scored 136 goals for Sevilla, and he also slammed home 33 goals for West Ham in 3 seasons. You're damn right, a Pete Canute will be a definite upgrade in Sebastian Haller. No question about it. Wolves JOLEON Lescott. Again, JOLEON Lescott is not a bad player, and certainly was not for Wolves where he began his career, but this is Wolves' best starting 11 for decades, and I'm sorry, but the truly bad players, like Andy Keogh and Jamie O'Hara, they wouldn't be allowed within 200 metres of the stadium. Instead, I'm reaching for anyone, any former Wolves player who might get into this team, and yes, the ball-playing 22-year-old Lescott would slot perfectly into Nuno Espirito's back three. Anyway, that's the end of the video, lads. Tell me, what do you think in the comment section below? Have I got this all completely wrong? Are none of these players good enough to make your team? Have I missed some absolutely dreadful players who would somehow sneak in? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.